So next week is the final episode of Psycho Pass Season 2. Supposedly this is only going to be 11 episodes. This is episode 10, so next week is the final unless we have a break sometime next week, which I highly doubt. So next week, the next episode is the final. Now, here's the thing, okay? With this episode, once again, Mika could have helped out Akane a lot if she would have said something. And in this episode, she justifies what she did in these past couple episodes because she's following Sibyl. She's following the guidance of Sibyl, and she's listening to Sibyl, and so she is fine. She's in the right, even though clearly there's something wrong here. So, once again, I'm still trying to figure out what is the importance of Mika's character. This is, like, right before the final episode of the series. What importance does Mika have besides being a bitch and just following Sibyl? I'm serious. I'm just asking a question because she just caused Akane's grandma to get killed in this episode. Last week, it ended on a cliffhanger to where it supposedly made us think that Akane's grandma died. But with this episode, it's confirmed. Pretty much she's fucking dead. Like, you have Sibyl announce to Akane in the middle of the meeting room and say, like, oh yeah, we found the corpse, and it's your grandma and stuff like that, and then Akane pretty much has kind of like a mental breakdown, which I will get into in just a moment. But Mika caused that death. She indirectly caused that death of her grandma. She could have easily have said something, but no, she didn't. And she also was pretty much allowing the bombing, too, of the people. Like, how the people were about to get bombed in the train cart where Kamui was having everybody hostage. She was completely fine with that, too, even though she kind of knew what was going on also. She didn't even try to let Akane know or anything. Even though Akane had to figure it out herself, it's still the point. She didn't help at all. She just sat back doing shit. I don't know why Mika's character is in this series. Like, what importance does she serve besides just being there to be useless? She seriously is fucking useless to the series. This is, like, I'm saying, right before the last episode of the series, and she has just shown no qualities about her that is redeemable or good. She hasn't. Even when she found out about Sibyl and revealed the plot to us, it's still, the way she went about it was fucking wrong. Still trying to fire her boss. So, questioning whose big idea was it to make Mika's character like this in this season? Because I don't know what to say. I really, really don't. Anyways, getting off the fact of Mika, even though she's the one that caused that death of the grandma, she could have easily have fixed that. I want to get on to something that this episode, I think, made with the terms of a plot hole. Now, I don't know necessarily if it's a plot hole or not, because next week is the final episode, so it can still be explained. But last week, in my last review, I brought up the question of, how did Kamui's friend get the ear of the grandma, and how did Kamui magically manage to get the body of the grandma, and then kill her? Like, well, as I stated last week, hopefully I say it correctly what I said last week, that would mean that Togane had to be working with Kamui or Kamui's friend. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all, since technically Togane and Sibyl were trying to capture Akane's grandma to begin with, and then also Kamui's wanting to do it too. It felt like there's way too many coincidences with that overall element, and so, is Togane working with Kamui's friend? If not, that's a massive fucking plot hole right there. Like, why does Kamui's friend have the ear of Akane's grandma in last episode, but this episode, Togane, you know, is revealed that he killed the grandma, and that last week, you know, he killed her in the trunk, pretty much. So, either this is a massive plot hole, or I missed some vital information, or they need to explain it next episode, because that right there, just, it's bugging me. Like, why? Why does that dude have Akane's grandma's ear in a fucking box? And then Togane supposedly has the body. Like, did he ship the box to her? Like, what the fuck? Just like, like I said, I don't understand that. That needs to be explained. Like, pronto. That really needs to be explained. Yeah, we can make theories and talk about supposedly how it happened, but it hasn't been explained at all. It hasn't been touched on as I know of. I'm unaware of it coming back to and touching on to the fact of how that dude managed to have the ear while Togane had the body. Like, yeah, that needs to be touched on, because that is like, whoa. It's like slapping me in the face, like, what's going on here? Anyways, so, it's pretty much obvious now, and I've saw some Chibi state that Kamui most likely had a deeper objective besides revenge, but clearly, here's the two things it boils down to in this episode. Calmly wants revenge because, you know, he was experimented on and pretty much he can't be detected by Sibyl. And at the exact same time, his other goal is to judge Sibyl and pretty much see what color Sibyl is, since he is a collective psychopath. Now, the collective psychopath thing that was brought up with this episode. Once again, I want to tell you something that's very funny about this, okay? Look at the title of this episode. Look at the title of this episode of episode 10 of Psychopaths. What is the title called? Gauging the Soul. So you're telling me that these organs are supposedly the soul, and Calmly has all the minds, collective minds, and psychopaths inside of him because of these organs inside of him. Because what Sibyl pretty much states in this episode, okay, pretty much says that he has all the minds and thought processes, like, or different, like, psychopaths of all those people inside of him. So this is confirmed that all these different organs of like 184 different people, or 186, it was a lot of people forced and jammed inside of him that supposedly all their organs were compatible with his one body, which even with high-tech science, that's a stretch. But anyways, so it's funny. It's very funny how the title of this episode is Gauging the Soul, and as I talked about a couple episodes back about, I thought the psychopath, you know, gauging the soul thing was, you know, each individual person was, the psychopath was mean engaging the soul, or, you know, looking into the soul. But supposedly, organs equal the soul. Like, a piece of your liver can equal your soul, and it can also change your psychopaths. It's your psychopaths. That's pretty much what this episode confirms, because of the title, too, along with that. Because they wouldn't put gauging the soul if it didn't have some relevance to the overall aspect of Calmly. So, episode. It's everything I mentioned in previous episodes, seriously. It's exactly what I mentioned when I talked about the certain issues I had with the writing. It's obvious. It's so obvious. But I'm not even going to go into it. I want to save it for my final review of Psychopaths because it's just not worth my effort at the moment until the final episode next week. I want to see the overall conclusion of Season 2 to see how it ends, and then I can properly get my outlook on the series. But overall, the episode sets off with a confrontation with, you know, Akane, Calmly, and Togane pretty much about to fight at the end of this episode. Togane like pulls out a knife about to stab Calmly. Calmly pulls out a Dominator and is about to shoot Togane. Now, here's the thing I want to mention before I end this review. There's no way in fuck, no way Sibyl should turn off that Dominator. You want me to explain why? It goes against the writing of what was set up in this season. This season alone. You don't even have to go to Season 1 to see. Sibyl specifically stated, even in this episode, Sibyl cannot turn off the Dominators. If Sibyl turned off the Dominators, that would mean that it's admitting it's not perfect. So Sibyl cannot turn off the Dominator to what Calmly's using to save the sun. For instance, Togane. Togane cannot be saved. If that Dominator gets shut off, Sibyl is admitting that it's imperfect. And that pretty much breaks the overall meaning of what Sibyl was trying to do a couple episodes back, saying, oh, I can't turn off the Dominators because of Calmly. I can't do that. I can't do that. If that fucking happens, like, there's no way Togane should be alive after that supposed shot at the end of this episode. There is no fucking way. The only way is if Akane jumps in front of the Dominator. That is it. That is the only thing that can happen. Besides that, there is no way that Dominator should be shut off by Sibyl. If it does, like I said, Sibyl's admitting it has flaws, and it should have turned him off to begin with the Dominator. So, a lot of issues that, which I would cover if that does happen next week. But anyways, besides that, we get some Kogami in this episode. I mean, everybody's been begging for Kogami to come back. He is in this episode, and we see him in, like, a crazy dream sequence. Like, I guess, you know, technically, Akane was having, like, a little bit of a daydream, pretty much. And Kogami starts talking to her and helps her out to her psychopath levels, and this points towards that Akane is going crazy, as was already stated earlier on in the first or second episode of Psychopath Season 2. So, Akane is going crazy. Okay. Very, very subtle right in there. But overall, it's an okay episode. It's an okay episode. I can't say nothing until next week, because next week will determine exactly how it all lines up with the writing, the story, the development, the characters, what was important, what was not, stuff like that. We'll just have to see how it goes. Episode was enjoyable. It was an enjoyable episode. The animation was good. Music was badass. So, no disappointments there. Just hopefully they end and wrap this up properly. I really, really hope it gets wrapped up properly, because my questions about how the grandma you know, with the ear thing, and then the aspect of how if Togane is going to survive the Shaw at the end, and just different issues with the soul, even if the title completely just talked about gauging the soul in the title, pretty much did a reference to Season 1, and so, yeah. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.